the reflection that wasn't mine. Late one winter night, Evan sat alone in his dimly lit apartment, scrolling mindlessly through his phone. Outside, the wind howled through the trees, rattling the old window frames. The only light in the room came from the screen in his hand, and the faint glow of the street lamp outside. Evan glanced up at the mirror on the far wall, a large, antique thing he had picked up from a thrift store a few weeks back. It had a beautifully carved wooden frame, but the glass itself always seemed slightly too dark, as if it held onto shadows longer than it should. As he looked at it, something felt off. His reflection sat in the same position as him, phone in hand, but there was something subtly different. The eyes. His reflection's eyes were staring straight at him, unblinking. A cold shiver ran down his spine. He turned his head slightly to the left, testing the reflection. It mimicked him perfectly. Maybe he was just tired. But then, the reflection's lips curled into a smirk. Evan's breath caught in his throat. He hadn't moved his mouth at all. His reflection was grinning at him, no, not at him, through him. Slowly, the reflection placed its phone down on the table. Evan's hands were still gripping his own device, shaking slightly. He watched as the mirrored version of himself leaned forward, closer to the glass. Then, without warning, the reflection stood up. Evan stayed frozen in his chair, heart hammering. His own body had not moved, but his reflection was now standing, staring down at him with those same unblinking eyes. And then it took a step forward out of the mirror. The last thing Evan saw was his own horrified face reflected in the dark glass, as something that looked exactly like him grinned wider and turned off the light.